easy because I have 4 parameter value. Another one is the table array, column index, and match node. So only 4 values we are passing. And here in the VLOOKUP function, obviously here I know the respondents because in this survey data I had already 88,000, almost nearer to the 89,000 respondents data. This is okay because it is not possible for me to search a particular random respondents data. It is not possible, right? So because 2589th respondent, so will you search directly? So by just dragging this cursor to the end 2500 and then noting down their years of coding experience, and it is not possible because it is taking more time for me to do the work. Okay, so instead of that, what I am doing is using the VLOOKUP function. Why I am using the VLOOKUP also I'll explain. Because my data set, in my data set, if you want to search all of these respondents, I will search along the column. See, I will search that in this respondent column. I won't search in the row wise. Why? Because do you know why? Because all the respondent IDs were stored in this single column. That's the reason this is the vertical lookup. Okay, if you compare it with the HLOOKUP, I want to search all the student IDs, all student IDs stored in a single row. Row means that is the horizontal lookup. That is the reason for this example I have taken HLOOKUP, and for this example I have taken VLOOKUP. Okay, and if you are considering VLOOKUP for this example, it's not possible. Can't do that because you are searching the data horizontally. How can you use the VLOOKUP function? So in this format, so as I mentioned the formula, so the lookup value, lookup array, that is the entire table you are supposed to pass, and then column index, from which column you want to access the data. I want years of code, that is the 14th column, so I have passed it. Okay, and then false if you are passing the wrong number, wrong column number. Let us suppose 13 I am passing, but I am getting not the experience of a year's code. This is not a coding years experience, right? So whenever you are passing an argument to the function, so please make sure that the column index is correct so that you will get the accurate correct output. Okay, so that is about VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP functions. Okay, so now we will go to the XLOOKUP function. So I will simply write the definition. It searches the data in both directions. In both directions, that means vertically and horizontally. Okay, so this point is very important, guys, because the XLOOKUP is searching the data in both the directions, vertically and as well as horizontally also it's searching the data. Okay, so now here you have one more question, or in interviews also if you are getting this question, please answer. Okay, so that was, we have different functions for searching the data in both the directions. So for vertical direction we had VLOOKUP function. For horizontal direction we have HLOOKUP function. Then why do I need to use the XLOOKUP function? That is the important interview question you may get from the lookup concept. What is the advantage of using the XLOOKUP function over VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP? Do you know the advantage of XLOOKUP? Because this is the advanced lookup function. Okay, so you can find it in the newer versions of Excel. I guess it is Excel 2019 plus 2019 Excel XLOOKUP function. You have to use VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP. Okay, so now we will discuss the advantage of XLOOKUP function over VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP. The first advantage is the searching the data in both the directions. Okay, so in these two functions, we are supposed to use the two different functions for two different directions. For vertical direction VLOOKUP, for horizontal direction HLOOKUP. But you can use the single lookup function for both the directions, vertically and horizontally. That is the one advantage of XLOOKUP over VLOOKUP and H. That is the one part. So the second part is, if lookup value is not in first column, it raises error. Observe this point in the VLOOKUP. If lookup value is not in first column, it raises the error. And just like the same way, if lookup value is not in first row, it raises error. So now everyone observe here the same thing. HLOOKUP and VLOOKUP were same. Only the difference is columns will be converted into rows, but the parameters and the properties are very similar to each other, VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP. So if lookup value is not in the first column, it raises the error. And here also the same thing. If lookup value is not in first row, it raises the error. So we'll do that. So let me just check how many respondent IDs I have over here. 88,863. That is the last number. 88,900. See, I have only 88,863 respondents. But I am trying to access the years of coding experience for the respondent whose ID is 88,900. Do we have this person in the original data? No, we don't have that person. Why? Because we have the data for only 88,863. So till that number we have IDs, but we don't have 88,900 respondent ID. So then what I have to do is, if I am just dragging down till the end, so what I am getting is a not applicable error. Not applicable error. Why I am getting not applicable error? Because this value is not available in the first column. See, this value is not available in the first column, so I am getting the not applicable error. So in this HLOOKUP example also, let us suppose only 10 students were present, but I am trying to access the 11th student. Okay, only 10 students were present. I am supposed to access the 11th student, and then if I am just dragging down till the end, the same not applicable error I am getting for the HLOOKUP also. Okay, for the HLOOKUP also I am getting the same not applicable error, because here you can understand that if your lookup value is not present in the first column, it raises the error VLOOKUP, and HLOOKUP also will raises the error if lookup value is not in the first row, because in the first row I have only IDs till the 10, but I am searching 11. How can I able to find the 11th student? That is not available. So it is an error. In the XLOOKUP function, so in the XLOOKUP function, so you won't get any error over here because you can pass the default value. Okay, you can pass the default value for the XLOOKUP function, so that if the value is not found, it will automatically returns that default value. Okay, so here you can pass a default value if lookup value is not present. That's it. Okay, if lookup value is not present, you can pass a default value, and I will just write the syntax of the, let me just highlight the syntax, because this syntaxes is very important for every function. Remember, syntaxes are the key points for the functions. Okay, observe. XLOOKUP, lookup value. Obviously, the first one will be the lookup value, and second one will be the lookup array and return array. So there is a lot of difference in the syntax of VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP and XLOOKUP. See, I'm directly passing the entire table array in VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP, But in the XLOOKUP, the table array has been divided into two parts. One is the lookup array, another one is the return array. That means two separate columns you can pass because it is fetching the data in both the directions. So two separate columns you can pass. Okay. And then column number, obviously row number, it is not required because obviously you are passing the single column. It will return the data from that column only. So it is not required. And value not found. Value if not found. That is the default value that you are supposed to pass. Okay, whatever you want to place, if the value is not found, you are supposed to pass the value over here so that it will return the data. And the last one will be the match mode. Close the bracket, click on it. Now let's see. I was just accessing the years of code, the same column. Years, code column. The same column I will try to access, but this is done by using the VLOOKUP. Okay, and this will be done by using the XLOOKUP. So observe. So I will write the function over here, XLOOKUP, and my lookup value will be this 25J7. My lookup array means where you are searching the data. I am searching this data in the respondent column, and this will be my lookup array. Obviously, I will pass F4. Here also F. And next one will be the return array. Return array means from which column you want to return the data. Obviously, that is the years of coding experience column, and that is this column. Entire column I have selected, and then F4. Here also F. Done. And then the next argument will be value if not found. That means the default value you are supposed to pass. So I will just mention that respondent not available. Okay, that is the default value it needs to print. Okay, and then match mode obviously 0, that is for exact match. So we are not passing true or false values here. 0 means that is the exact match. So click on enter. See, are we getting the same number or not? Yes, 2 is the same number. In the VLOOKUP also we are getting the 2. In the XLOOKUP also we are getting the 2. So that means I am not just changing the value here. Same the value we are searching and the same value it is returning, but the functions were different. At first I used VLOOKUP function and then I used XLOOKUP function. I will just drag down till the end and you can observe the values also. See, what are the values? I'm getting 2, 2, 14, 14, 5, 5, 20, 20, all the values are same, but here I'm getting a not applicable error. Here it is respondent not available. This is not an error. This is the default value I passed. So based on that, it is returning the default value. So now you are able to understand that XLOOKUP is a replacement of the VLOOKUP function, because it is searching the data in vertical direction. At the same time, you can pass a default value for the errors in the XLOOKUP directly. You can pass a default value for the XLOOKUP directly. That will be done. Okay. And some other colors I will use. So now this is the HLOOKUP, and this will be done by XLOOKUP. See how XLOOKUP is useful in place of HLOOKUP also, you can observe. Okay, so the same marks column I will access. I won't use the different columns, so the same marks column I will access. Okay, so now observe how I am writing my XLOOKUP function over here. So we'll start with the same function name XLOOKUP. Lookup value would be the student ID, comma, and lookup array. Lookup array should be I am searching the student ID in the ID row. So that is my lookup array. And table array of return array. Return array means that is obviously the marks column, because I want to return the marks only. I don't want the names. So then I don't have to pass it. Okay. So value if not found means, let us suppose if the student ID is not available. So I was supposed to mention a default value over here. So here I'll mention student as a string I have to pass. So in the double quotes, student not available. Okay, and then 0 for the exact match. Close the bracket, click on it. And now you can able to see the same 45 I'm getting from the HLOOKUP and from the XLOOKUP also. And if I just drag down till the end, what will happen? So 67 same, 49 same, but here I'm getting a error with the HLOOKUP function, but I'm getting a value that is the default value from the XLOOKUP function. Now you have to agree. So instead of VLOOKUP, we can use XLOOKUP, that is the vertical direction. And even in place of HLOOKUP, you can use the XLOOKUP also, that is the horizontal direction. That means XLOOKUP searches the data in both the direction VLOOKUP along with the HLOOKUP also. Okay, so that is the advantage of XLOOKUP over VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP. That is clear? Everyone, please tell me. Yes, yes. Yes, I'll explain.